out! I want them arrested. They don't belong here. Take them!
All right, let's go. Move it.
I was 24 years old when my father called the police on my girlfriend because she was black. It was October 2016, a Sunday afternoon in Cherokee County, Georgia. I was driving my girlfriend Tanisha to my parents' house for dinner, the first time she'd be meeting my family. We'd been dating for 8 months, and I was nervous but hopeful. Nervous because I knew my father was conservative, very conservative, but hopeful because I loved Tanisha and wanted my family to know her. "You sure about this?" Tanisha asked from the passenger seat. She was 25, beautiful and brilliant, a marketing manager at a tech company in Atlanta. We'd met through mutual friends, hit it off immediately, and had been inseparable ever since. "I'm sure. My dad can be intense about politics, but he's still my dad. He'll be civil." "Civil, that's a low bar." "I know. But it's a start. My mom will be nice. My brother Kevin is cool. It'll be okay." I wanted to believe that. Needed to believe it. Because the alternative, that my family wouldn't accept the woman I loved, was too painful to consider. We pulled up to 847 Maple Street, the house I'd grown up in. Large colonial-style home, perfectly manicured lawn, American flag flying out front. Next to it, a Trump-Pence 2016 yard sign. Tanisha noticed it but didn't comment. The neighborhood was exactly as I remembered. Upper-middle-class suburban Georgia. Big houses, nice cars, families who'd lived there for decades. And uniformly white. Every house, every family. Tanisha was likely the first black person to set foot on this street in months. I saw her notice that too. Saw her shoulders tense slightly. "Hey," I said, reaching for her hand. "It's going to be fine. I promise." She squeezed my hand and smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Okay. Let's do this." We walked up to the front door together. I knocked. My parents had this weird thing about family members knocking rather than just walking in, some sort of respect thing, and waited. My father opened the door. David Morgan, 52 years old, owner of Morgan Construction Company, lifelong Republican, Fox News devotee. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt, his standard weekend uniform. He saw me first and smiled. Then he saw Tanisha, and the smile froze on his face. Actually froze. His eyes widened slightly, and his face went pale, then red. "Rachel," he said slowly. "You didn't mention you were bringing someone." "Dad, this is Tanisha. My girlfriend." "Tanisha, this is my father, David." Tanisha extended her hand with a warm smile. "It's so nice to meet you, Mr. Morgan. Rachel's told me a lot about you." My father looked at her hand like it was a snake. Didn't shake it. Didn't acknowledge it. Just stared. "Dad," I said sharply. He finally stepped back from the door. "Come in." We walked inside. My mother Linda was in the kitchen, putting the final touches on dinner. She came out when she heard us, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Rachel. And you must be," she stopped when she saw Tanisha. Her smile faltered for just a second, but she recovered faster than my father had. "Tanisha. How lovely to meet you." She shook Tanisha's hand, at least. But her grip was brief, her eyes darting to my father nervously. My younger brother Kevin, 21 and home from college for the weekend, came down the stairs. "Hey Rach. And this must be the famous Tanisha. Nice to finally meet you." Kevin was genuine. He shook her hand, smiled, made small talk. I was grateful for him in that moment, for being the only person in the room acting like a normal human being. "Dinner's ready," my mother said. "Let's sit down." The dining room table was set for 5. My mother had made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. Traditional Sunday dinner, the kind I'd grown up with. We all took our seats as me next to Tanisha, my parents across from us, Kevin at the end. And then the most awkward meal of my life began. My father said nothing. Literally nothing. Just ate in complete silence, occasionally glaring at Tanisha like she'd personally offended him by existing. My mother made stilted small talk. So Tanisha, Rachel mentioned you work in marketing? Yes, ma'am. I'm a marketing manager at a tech startup in Atlanta. We do data analytics software. That sounds interesting. Silence. Forks scraping plates. How did you two meet? My mother tried again. Through mutual friends, I said. At a networking event last year. We just clicked. My father's jaw tightened. He set down his fork with more force than necessary. You okay, Dad? Kevin asked. Fine, he said tersely. More silence. Tanisha was handling it with grace, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Could see her discomfort. This was exactly what I'd hoped wouldn't happen. 10 minutes into the meal, my father stood up abruptly. Excuse me. I need to make a phone call. He walked out of the dining room toward his study. Left the door open, which was unusual. Usually when he took calls, he closed the door for privacy. We could all hear him clearly. Yes, police? This is David Morgan. 847 Maple Street, Cherokee County. I have a suspicious woman in my home. I want her removed from my private property immediately. I felt my blood turn to ice. Tanisha's hand, which had been resting on the table, started shaking. Dad. I jumped up from my chair and ran to the study. What are you doing? He held up a hand to silence me, still talking into the phone. Yes, I'll wait for officers to arrive. Thank you. He hung up and looked at me with cold eyes. I want her out of my house. Her name is Tanisha. She's my girlfriend. She's here because I invited her. I don't care. I want her gone. And if she won't leave voluntarily, the police will escort her out. You called 911? Are you insane? I called the police to remove a trespasser from my property. That's my right as a homeowner. She's not a trespasser. I brought her here. This is racist, Dad. You're calling the cops on her because she's black. I'm calling the cops because she doesn't belong here. Tanisha appeared in the doorway, her face completely blank. That scared me more than tears would have. She was shutting down, going into protective mode. We're leaving, she said quietly. Right now. No, my father said. You'll leave when the police escort you out. I've already called them. They're on their way. Then we'll wait outside, I said, grabbing Tanisha's hand. Come on. You'll wait here, my father said, blocking the doorway to the foyer. I want officers to see the situation clearly. My mother was crying silently in the dining room. Kevin looked horrified but wasn't saying anything, wasn't doing anything. Just standing there uselessly. 8 minutes. We waited 8 awful minutes. Tanisha standing in the foyer, shaking. Me holding her hand, furious and helpless. My father watching us like we were criminals. My mother crying. Kevin silent. Then we heard it. A car pulling into the driveway. Doors closing. Heavy footsteps on the front walk. A knock at the door. My father opened it immediately. 2 Cherokee County Sheriff's deputies stood there in full uniform. One was older, maybe in his 40s, white, with graying hair. His name tag said Davis. The other was younger, Latino, name tag Martinez. Mr. Morgan? You called about a suspicious person on your property? Officer Davis said. Yes. Thank you for coming so quickly. My father pointed directly at Tanisha. I want this woman removed from my house immediately. Both officers looked at Tanisha. Looked at me. Looked at the dining room table with half-eaten dinner. Looked at my crying mother and my silent brother. Officer Davis's expression changed. I watched understanding dawn on his face, followed by something that looked like disgust. "Sir," he said carefully, "can you explain the situation? Why do you want this woman removed? She's trespassing. I didn't invite her here. I want her gone." "I invited her," I said. "I'm his daughter Rachel. This is my girlfriend Tanisha. I brought her here for Sunday dinner to meet my family." Officer Davis looked at my father. "Sir, is that your daughter?" "Yes." "And she invited her guest into your home?" "I don't care. I want her out." "Sir, that's not trespassing. Your daughter has a right to bring guests to your home. Unless there's been a crime committed, unless this woman has done something illegal, we can't remove her. I own this house. I have the right to decide who enters my property." "You do, sir. But your daughter also lives here." "She doesn't live here anymore. She lives in Atlanta. But she's your child, and this is her family home. She's invited a guest. That guest has done nothing wrong. There's no legal basis for removal." My father's face was turning purple. "She doesn't belong here. She's not welcome." Officer Martinez, the younger one, stepped forward slightly. "Sir, is there any particular reason you want this woman removed? Any actual complaint beyond her presence?" It was a loaded question. Both officers knew exactly what was happening. They were giving my father a chance to either admit his racism or back down. He chose neither. Just stood there, jaw clenched, saying nothing. Officer Davis turned to us. "Ma'am," he said, addressing me. "Ma'am," to Tanisha. "We apologize for this situation. You're not required to leave. You've done nothing wrong." "We're leaving anyway," Tanisha said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor underneath. "I don't want to be somewhere I'm not welcome." "That's your choice, and we respect that," Officer Martinez said. Then, quietly, almost under his breath, "I'm sorry, ladies." Officer Davis shot my father one more look, a look of pure professional disdain. "Mr. Morgan, I strongly suggest you think carefully before calling 911 again for non-emergencies. This was not an appropriate use of emergency services. I have the right to call police when there's an unwanted person. There was no unwanted person. There was your daughter and her invited guest." "Good evening, sir." Both officers walked out. Got back in their patrol car. Drove away. I turned to my father. "I will never forgive you for this. Never." "Then don't come back." "I won't." "Come on, Tanisha." We walked out. Got in my car. I started the engine with shaking hands and drove. Made it 3 blocks before Tanisha started crying. Not quiet tears. Huge, body-shaking sobs that made her gasp for air. I pulled over into a random subdivision, parked, and turned to her. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I never thought I didn't know he was that bad. He called the police on me," she said through tears. "He called 911. On me. For sitting at his dinner table. For being black in his house. I know. I know. It's unforgivable. What if those officers had been different? What if they'd believed him? What if they'd arrested me? They didn't. But they could have. Rachel, I could have been arrested. I could have been shot. For having dinner with my girlfriend's family. She wasn't wrong. We both knew she wasn't wrong. Black people had been killed by police for less. For traffic stops. For selling cigarettes. For existing in spaces white people deemed off-limits. My father had weaponized that. Had called 911 knowing that police and black people was a potentially deadly combination. had done it anyway because he cared more about keeping his house white than keeping his daughter happy. I am so sorry, I said again, uselessly. I should have protected you. I should have known. You couldn't have known he'd do that. That's insane. That's next-level racist. I know my father's a racist. I've known that my whole life. But I thought he'd at least be civil. I thought he wouldn't make a scene. A scene? Rachel, he called the cops. That's not making a scene. That's attempting to weaponize the criminal justice system against a black woman for daring to date his white daughter. She was right. Absolutely right. And I had no defense. No excuse. Nothing that would make this okay. We sat in that car for an hour. Tanisha crying. Me holding her. Both of us processing what had just happened. Finally, she said, I need to tell my parents. Okay. Do you want me to take you home? Yeah. But Rachel, I need you to understand something. I can't go back there. Ever. I can't see your father again. If you want to maintain a relationship with him, that's your choice. But I can't be part of it. I don't want a relationship with him. Not after this. You say that now. But he's your father. In a few weeks, maybe you'll feel differently. I won't. Tanisha, I swear to you, I won't. What he did is unforgivable. I'm done with him. Completely done. Okay. We'll see. I drove her to her parents' house in southwest Atlanta. Gloria and Marcus Williams lived in a nice neighborhood, a predominantly black area where Tanisha had grown up. They welcomed me warmly when we arrived, but their faces changed when they saw Tanisha's expression. Baby, what happened? Gloria asked immediately. Rachel's father called the police on me. He what? We told them the whole story. With every detail, Marcus's face got harder. Gloria looked like she wanted to get in her car and drive to Cherokee County immediately. That man called 911 on my daughter? Marcus said. His voice was dangerously quiet. In his own house? Because she was having dinner? I'm so sorry, I said. I had no idea he'd do something like that. It's not your fault, Gloria said, though her eyes were still blazing with anger. But your father, that man is dangerous. You understand that, right? He tried to weaponize police against Tanisha. In Georgia. Where black people get killed by police regularly. I know. I'm horrified. I told him I'm never speaking to him again. Good. Because you shouldn't. And Tanisha, baby, you know you never have to go anywhere near that man again, right? I know, Mama. We stayed at the Williams house for another hour. They fed us, comforted Tanisha, made it clear I was welcome in their home any time. Gloria even joked darkly that I had better parents now. She wasn't wrong. When I finally left and drove back to my apartment in Midtown Atlanta, my phone was full of messages. My mother had called 6 times. Kevin had texted 4 times. Even my father had called once, though he hadn't left a voicemail. I didn't respond to any of them. Just turned off my phone, went inside, and tried to sleep. I couldn't. Kept replaying the scene. My father pointing at Tanisha. The officers' embarrassed faces. Tanisha's tears. The knowledge that my own father had tried to use police as a weapon against the woman I loved. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. I was done with David Morgan. Done with his racism. Done with his hatred. Done with trying to have a relationship with someone who'd shown me exactly who he was. I'd believed him. And I was walking away. The next morning, my father called again. I almost didn't answer, but morbid curiosity got the better of me. Rachel. We need to talk about yesterday. There's nothing to talk about. You embarrassed me in front of those police officers, bringing that woman into my home. Her name is Tanisha. And you embarrassed yourself. You called 911 because you're racist and couldn't handle your daughter dating a black woman. The officers saw right through you. They were embarrassed for you. I don't have to accept your lifestyle choices. My lifestyle choices? Dating someone isn't a lifestyle choice. And her race definitely isn't. You're racist, Dad. Just admit it. I'm not racist. I just have standards for who enters my home. Your standards are racist. That's what racism is. You called the police on an innocent woman because of the color of her skin. That's textbook racism. If you continue seeing her, you're not welcome in this family. Good. Because I don't want to be part of a family that would do what you did. Don't call me again. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. Then I blocked my mother's number. She'd stood there crying but hadn't stopped him. Hadn't defended Tanisha or me. Had let her husband call the police on our guest and said nothing. Silent complicity was still complicity. Kevin texted me later that day. Rachel, I'm really sorry about what happened. Dad was way out of line. I responded, why didn't you say anything? I didn't know what to do. I was shocked. You could have told him he was wrong. You could have defended us. You could have done literally anything besides standing there silent. I know. I'm sorry. I froze. That's not good enough, Kevin. Tanisha was terrified. Your silence was part of that. He didn't respond. I didn't reach out again. Over the next few weeks, my mother tried to contact me from different numbers. Left voicemails. Rachel, please call me back. Your father is very upset. Maybe you just shouldn't see that girl anymore. It would make everything easier. That girl. Not Tanisha. Not my girlfriend. That girl. I blocked every number. Didn't respond. Didn't engage. My father tried once more, from his office number. Left a voicemail, Rachel, you're throwing away your family over some woman you barely know. Think about your priorities. Think about where you came from. Think about what's really important. I deleted it without finishing it. Tanisha and I talked about the incident constantly those first few weeks. She was in therapy specifically to process the trauma of having police called on her. Her therapist said it was a form of racial violence, using law enforcement as a weapon. That the fear Tanisha felt was completely justified and would take time to heal. I keep thinking about what could have happened, Tanisha told me one night. We were at my apartment, curled up on the couch. If those officers had been different. If they'd believed your dad. If they'd decided I was actually trespassing. I could be in jail right now. I could be dead. But you're not. You're safe. You're here. I know. But Rachel, I can't unknow that your father was willing to risk that. Was willing to potentially get me arrested or killed because he couldn't stand seeing you with a black woman. That's a level of hatred I can't comprehend. I can't comprehend it either. And I'm so sorry you had to experience it. Do you miss them? Your family? Sometimes. I miss the idea of them. The family I thought I had. But the reality? The reality is my father is a racist who called the cops on you, and my mother enabled it, and my brother did nothing. I don't miss that reality. What if they apologize? They won't. My father thinks he was right. My mother thinks I should just date someone white to make things easier. They're not going to apologize. And even if they did, I don't know if I could forgive them. What they did was unforgivable. Okay. As long as you're sure. I'm sure. You're my family now. You and your parents. People who actually love and accept me. And that became true. Gloria and Marcus Williams became my family in a way the Morgans never had been. They welcomed me to holidays, included me in family events, treated me like a daughter. When Tanisha and I moved in together in 2018, they helped us move. When I got promoted at work, they celebrated with us. They were there for every milestone, every moment that mattered. The Morgans were ghosts. Distant memories. People I used to know. My career took off. I'd been working in finance since graduating from UGA, and in 2018, I got an offer from Goldman Sachs in Atlanta. Junior analyst position. $95,000 a year. It was a huge opportunity, and I took it. I was good at the work. Really good. Analyzing companies, assessing risk, making recommendations. Within 2 years, I was promoted to analyst. $120,000. 2 years after that, senior analyst. $165,000. By 2024, I was 32 years old and making more money than my father ever had. I'd built a career, a life, a family. All without the Morgans. Tanisha and I got married in 2022. Beautiful ceremony at a venue in Atlanta. Her family was there. All her friends. All our friends. Gloria cried. Marcus walked both of us down the aisle, since my father wasn't there to do it. It was perfect. Exactly what we wanted. No racism. No police calls. No drama. Just love. I took Tanisha's last name. Became Rachel Williams instead of Rachel Morgan. It felt right. Symbolic. I was choosing her family over the family I'd been born into. Choosing love over hate. Choosing the people who actually valued me. For 8 years, I had zero contact with the Morgans. Blocked numbers stayed blocked. No emails. No letters. Nothing. They were dead to me, and I was apparently dead to them. Life moved on. I was happy. Successful. In love. Everything I needed, I had. I thought that chapter was closed forever. Thought I'd never hear from David Morgan again. Then my phone rang on a Tuesday afternoon in March 2024, and everything changed. I was in my office at Goldman Sachs, reviewing a financial report for a client, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Georgia area code. Normally I wouldn't answer, but I was expecting a call from a potential client, so I picked up. Rachel Williams speaking. Rachel. It's your father. I froze. 8 years. 8 years of silence. And now this. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Listen, I don't have much time. I need your help. I'm hanging up. Wait. Please. Just hear me out. My business is failing. Morgan Construction is going under. I owe suppliers $340,000. Banks won't give me a loan. I'm going to lose everything. I said nothing. Just listened. You work at Goldman Sachs now. I saw your LinkedIn. You're a senior analyst. You have connections in banking. You know people who make lending decisions. I need you to help me get a business loan. Just make some calls. Use your influence. Please. I'm desperate. You're asking me for help. Yes. I know we haven't spoken in years. I know things ended badly. But I'm your father. And I'm asking you to help me save my business. Everything I've built over 30 years is falling apart. I need you. 8 years. 8 years of silence. Never an apology. Never an acknowledgement of what he'd done. Never any attempt at reconciliation. And now, when he needed something, he called. Do you remember October 2016? I asked. What? Why are you bringing that up? October 2016. Sunday dinner. I brought Tanisha to your house. Do you remember what you did? Silence on the other end. Do you remember, Dad? You called 911. You told the police dispatcher you had a suspicious woman in your house. You wanted her removed from your private property. Remember? That was 8 years ago. 2 Cherokee County Sheriff's deputies showed up. Officer Davis and Officer Martinez. They came into your house. You pointed at Tanisha and told them to remove her. Do you remember what they said? Rachel, I don't see what this has to do with. They said there was no crime. That she was my invited guest. That you couldn't have her removed. They were embarrassed. For you. They apologized to us. Officer Martinez said, "I'm sorry, ladies." He apologized because your racism was so blatant that even police officers, who aren't exactly known for calling out racism, were uncomfortable. I was protecting my home. You were weaponizing law enforcement against a black woman because you couldn't stand your daughter dating her. You risked her safety. Her life. Do you understand that? Black people get killed by police for less than what you tried to do. You could have gotten her killed. That's dramatic. It's reality. And you did it anyway. Because you're a racist. And now, 8 years later, you want my help. You want me to use my connections. Make calls on your behalf. Help you get a loan. Yes. I'm your father. I'm asking for help. Here's my advice, Dad. Call 911 again. What? Call the police. Ask them for a loan. Maybe Officer Davis knows someone at a bank. Maybe they can help you out. Since you trust them so much to solve your problems, try them for this one. Rachel, that's not. You called police to remove the woman I love from your house. Now you can call them to save your business. Seems fair to me. Please. I'm begging you. I'll lose everything. You lost me 8 years ago. You chose racism over your daughter. Now you get to live with that choice. Goodbye, Dad. I hung up. Immediately blocked the number. Sat there at my desk, hands shaking, heart pounding. My assistant knocked on the door. Everything okay? Fine. Just give me a few minutes. Of course. I sat there processing. 8 years. He'd waited 8 years. Never apologized. Never tried to make amends. Never acknowledged what he'd done was wrong. Just disappeared from my life completely. And now, when his business was failing, when he needed something, he called. Not to reconcile. Not to repair the relationship. Just to use me. To use my connections. To take what he needed and presumably disappear again. The audacity was breathtaking. My phone rang again. Different number. I didn't recognize it, but I answered anyway. Maybe I needed to hear what else he had to say. Maybe I needed the closure. Rachel, it's your mother. Please don't hang up. Your father just called me very upset. He said you refused to help him. Refused to make some simple calls that could save his business. Simple calls. That's what you think he's asking for. Isn't it? You have connections. You work at a prestigious firm. Surely you could help him get a loan. Did he tell you why I refused? He said you're still angry about that incident years ago. About that girl. Her name is Tanisha. She's my wife. We've been married for 2 years. And that incident was your husband calling the police on her for being black. He was protecting his home. From what? From a woman having dinner? Mom, he called 911 because he's racist. And you stood there and let it happen. You cried, but you didn't stop him. You didn't defend us. You just stood there. I was caught off guard. For 8 years? You've been caught off guard for 8 years? Never once reaching out to apologize or try to fix things. Your father said you wouldn't want to hear from us. Dad was right about that. I didn't want to hear from you. Still don't. But not because I'm unreasonable. Because you chose his racism over your daughter. And now you want me to bail him out financially. The answer is no. He's going to lose his business. Everything he's worked for. That's what happens when you make bad business decisions. And bad life decisions. Like calling the cops on your daughter's girlfriend. Consequences, Mom. He's facing them. Please, Rachel. He's your father. I'm your mother. We're family. No. You were family. Past tense. You stopped being family when you called the police on Tanisha. When you stood silent while he did it. When you spent 8 years never apologizing or trying to make things right. You're not my family. You're strangers who share my DNA. That's a cruel thing to say. And calling 911 on an innocent black woman was a cruel thing to do. But you didn't seem too worried about cruelty then. I hung up. Blocked that number too. Over the next few days, they tried everything. Kevin reached out on LinkedIn, I blocked him. My mother tried calling from multiple numbers, I blocked them all. Someone even tried to email me at my work address. I deleted it without reading and set a filter to auto-delete anything from Morgan family email addresses. They were desperate. Good. Let them be desperate. Let them feel helpless and scared and unsupported. Let them understand what it's like when family abandons you. 4 months later, I saw a news article. Local business section. Morgan Construction files for bankruptcy after 30 years. I read it with complete detachment. The article detailed how David Morgan's construction company, which he'd founded in 1994, was closing after filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Debts totaling over $500,000. Assets being liquidated. 20 employees losing their jobs. The article quoted my father, "It's a difficult time for our family. We're grateful for the community's support over the years and sad to close this chapter." No mention of asking his daughter for help and being told to call 911. No mention of why his daughter might not want to help him. Just sanitized corporate speak. I showed the article to Tanisha that evening over dinner. His business closed. She read it silently. How do you feel? Nothing. I feel nothing. Maybe I should feel guilty. Or vindicated. Or something. But I just feel nothing. That's okay. You don't owe him guilt. You don't owe him anything. He lost everything he built over 30 years. And you lost your family 8 years ago because he called the police on me. Which loss is worse? She had a point. Do you think I was too harsh? When he called asking for help? Tanisha set down the article and looked at me seriously. Rachel, your father tried to weaponize law enforcement against me because I'm black. He called 911. He put me at risk. He traumatized me in a way I'm still working through in therapy. And then he disappeared for 8 years. Never apologized. Never tried to make amends. Only called when he needed something from you. You owed him nothing. What you said was perfect. He wanted to use police to solve his problems in 2016. He can try it again in 2024. I told him to call them for a loan. I know. It was poetic. It was justice. And it was exactly what he deserved. I took her hand across the table. I don't regret choosing you over them. Never have. Never will. I know. And I'm grateful every day that you did. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time since my father's call. No guilt. No second guessing. No wondering if I'd been too harsh. He'd made his choices. He'd called police on the woman I loved. He'd chosen racism over relationship. He'd disappeared for 8 years, never apologizing, never growing, never changing. And when he needed help, when his business was failing and he was desperate, he'd thought he could use me. Use my connections. Take what he needed and give nothing in return. He'd been wrong. I'd given him exactly what he deserved. A taste of his own medicine. A reminder that actions have consequences. A very simple message: you reap what you sow. He'd sown hatred and racism. Now he was reaping abandonment and bankruptcy. That was justice. Cold. Clear. Perfect. And I was at peace with it. Tanisha and I continued building our life together. Our careers thrived. Our marriage was strong. We bought a house in 2025, a beautiful place in Decatur. Talked about maybe starting a family. We had everything we needed. Love. Success. Community. Family, her family, our chosen family, the people who actually valued us. The Morgans were ghosts. Memories. People who'd once mattered but didn't anymore. I heard through the grapevine, someone who knew Kevin, that my parents had to sell their house. Downsized to a small condo. My father was working as a contractor now, no longer a business owner. My mother had gotten a part-time job. Their comfortable upper-middle-class life had crumbled. And I felt nothing about it. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just indifference. They'd made their choices. They got to live with the consequences. I'd made mine too. And I was living with them beautifully. Sometimes people ask how I could refuse to help my father. How I could let his business fail when I had connections that might have saved it. How I could be so cold. They don't understand. My father didn't just disapprove of my relationship. He weaponized the criminal justice system. Called 911. Tried to get police to remove my girlfriend from his house. Put her in danger. And he did it because she was black. Because I, his white daughter, dared to love a black woman. Because his racism was more important than my happiness. That's not a disagreement. That's not a misunderstanding. That's violence. Racial violence. Using police as a weapon against a black woman. Tanisha could have been arrested. Could have been hurt. Could have been killed. We both know that. The statistics are clear. Black people die in encounters with police at alarming rates. My father knew that too. And he called them anyway. For 8 years, he never apologized. Never acknowledged what he'd done was wrong. Never tried to repair the damage. Just disappeared. And then, when he needed something, when his business was failing and he was desperate, he called. Not to make amends. Not to rebuild our relationship. Just to use me. He wanted me to make calls to banks. Use my Goldman Sachs connections. Leverage the system on his behalf. The same system he'd tried to use against Tanisha. So I told him to call 911. To ask police for help. To use the system he loved so much to solve his problems. He didn't like that. Neither did my mother. Neither did Kevin. But that's consequences. That's accountability. That's what happens when you weaponize law enforcement against your daughter's girlfriend and then ask that daughter for help 8 years later. You get told to call the cops for a loan. Perfect karma. His business failed. He lost everything. That's sad. But it's not my responsibility. Not my guilt. Not my problem. I have my own life. My own family. My wife, who deserves better than police calls and racism. He called 911 on her once. Now he can call them for everything. And I sleep just fine at night.